So when I first got started, you had 10 slots. So if you wanted to use that on like 5 shirts and 5 sweatshirts, that was it. Now it's limited to 10 designs. So then you can upload that to all the products on all the marketplaces, which is super cool because
Oh,
that
wow.
it just really expands the products that you have. So I think it's like 64 different listings you end up having with each design. So if you're
Wow.
in tier 10, it's like 10 times 64
Okay.
actual listings that you have, which makes it way more
Wow.
easy to make sales, I think.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Coffee with Kittl episode. I'm excited because I have Hannah with me today, one of our amazing Kittl collaborators. Let me pull up this YouTube channel right here. So if y'all haven't seen these videos on print on demand, on Etsy, on Amazon, which is what we're talking about today, Amazon, definitely go check her channel out. I'm going to link it down in the description. So Hannah, before we dive into Amazon strategies, what's selling well on Amazon? How do I even get started on Amazon, which I'm excited to learn. Why don't you just briefly introduce yourself, kind of what you do and what to expect on your channel, and then we'll dive in.
Thanks so much Drew for having me on. I love working with the Kittl team. They're such an amazing tool for print on demand sellers. But yeah, so I am a print on demand seller, and I just wanted to kind of share some of the things that have helped me kind of get going in this journey and actually start to make real income every single month. So on my channel, you'll find a lot of videos on Amazon. You'll find videos about selling on Etsy, Redbubble, Zazzle, some of those smaller print on demand sites. But I also just share a lot of tips that kind of are applicable throughout a lot of different print on demand platforms. I share a lot of trending niches and ideas, design tutorials, things like that. So you'll find a lot of different stuff on there, ways to make passive income outside of just print on demand too.
Excellent. And so is it safe to say that are you doing print on demand and YouTube full time? Or are you one of those crazy people like our friend Juna who still has a 9 to 5 and yet still seems like full-time POD and YouTube?
Yeah, Juna is amazing how he does it all. So yes, I do this full time now,
Okay.
which has been amazing just to have more flexibility in my life. My husband and I were actually foster parents, so that
Oh,
was
wow.
something that this was super important to me to be able to have a job that was going to be more flexible. So I've been so thankful for print on demand the last couple of years.
Fantastic. Wow, that's super motivational and inspirational. So I hope everyone watching understands that you can make income from print on demand if you're doing the right things, which we'll get into in a little bit, of course. So let's talk about Amazon a little bit, or not a little bit. Let's talk about Amazon a lot a bit. Like, why is it an important platform for you? Okay, I think, well, Amazon in general is important, right? But in terms of like the Amazon merch platform, and the reason I ask that is because I feel like some people are afraid to get started because they've maybe looked it up or they maybe researched some videos and they see that kind of, as far as I'm aware, there's a 10 listing limit or something at the beginning until you can actually sell stuff. Why should we maybe not worry about that 10 listing limit?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So with Amazon, I think one of the most powerful things about that platform is really just the built-in audience that Amazon has,
Mm,
just millions and millions of users. So I know a lot of print-on-demand sellers, they have kind of success maybe doing their own website through something like Shopify.
right.
And I didn't want to do that because I just wanted to take advantage of platforms that did have that built-in audience that I'm not going to have to work as hard to bring that direct traffic when they have so much organic traffic.
Mm,
So 10 listings on Amazon, it's not a lot, but it is still really powerful that
okay.
you can still make sales with such few items. And so just, yeah, taking advantage of that existing traffic is so awesome with Amazon. And another thing that I do love about Amazon, I know you talked about don't love setting it and forgetting it. But it is nice on Amazon that like you really just upload your listings and your designs and you're getting paid a royalty payment. So
Right.
you're not kind of forking up any money initially. So it's really if you can get accepted, it's a low barrier of entry to get
Mm.
started. You don't have to worry about paying fees or different things. So I think it's an amazing platform to sell on for some of those reasons.
So let's talk about maybe the hardest thing. I have not tried this yet because I'm so afraid of being rejected. But I have heard from a multiplicity of users and friends that it is challenging or difficult to get accepted to Amazon merch. What, if any, advice do you have for getting just before you can even design anything, just getting approved to Amazon merch? And did you get rejected at all, or did you just get in right on the first try?
Yeah, so I was one of the few that I did get reject or I did get accepted on my first
Oh
try with,
wow.
yeah, Amazon. So, which I think at the time I didn't realize like how rarely I think that happens.
Mm,
And I got started back in 2020, so I do think that maybe a little bit more people were getting accepted to the program, and
okay.
it seems like maybe they are rejecting more people
Mm,
nowadays. But I think there are some things you can do to help, like the wording that you put in kind of your like more info section when you do apply. So I have like a video on that, just really just sharing exactly what I did. So if people kind of want to copy that strategy. And unfortunately, it does seem like a lot more accounts are getting accepted from places like the United States and Canada. And then some other countries definitely have a harder time. But
mm.
still, people from many different countries do get accepted. I think it just is a little bit fewer.
Yeah, and I think some of the tips that I've heard about kind of getting accepted is, if you're already on some platforms that you can already have listings, like Etsy's doesn't have some kind of weird waiting period or rejection thing, unless a listing gets flagged or something. But Etsy is something you can easily get started with. There's no high bar of entry for that, so then you can have some listings on there. You can have listings on Redbubble, you can have listings on TeePublic, because I think if I remember correctly, looking at it wants to see if you're selling anywhere else, or like if you have experience selling listings anywhere else. And so being able to have some of those platforms in your tool belt already to put the links into Amazon saying like, oh, I actually have success selling something, of course, it'll help you. Once that happens, then what are your next steps for putting your first listing up, or maybe even before that, what you're going to do before you put that listing up? So what are the kind of strategies for beginners on Amazon once they've been approved?
Yeah, so there's like a couple different strategies, and one that I see a lot of people trying to do is they do the research, they're finding these good niches, and then they are taking their time uploading those 10 designs, letting them sit there. If they don't sell in maybe 30 days or 2 months, kind of swapping those out for
Okay.
something new. So when I got started, though, I kind of wanted to do something different. I was super eager to get going. And so this is a strategy I still share with people, and it is working for a lot of people. And that is to actually take advantage of some direct traffic. So Amazon now, like I primarily run just organically through the traffic they have. But when you're first getting started, you have those 10 listings and you want to make 10 sales so you can tier up and have more products on the website.
Okay.
So basically, what I did is I utilized social media and created like an Instagram page that I would share kind of mock-ups of the different designs that I was uploading to Amazon, but all in one particular niche. So all 10 of my products were in the same niche. So I could really heavily target
Mm,
just one demographic of people. And I would post maybe 2 to 3 like mock-up photos of real people wearing my designs, use relevant hashtags for that specific niche. And I very quickly started amassing some followers
oh
and
wow.
getting people interested in those. And it was a niche I was very familiar in. So
Right. Okay.
definitely that's something that people could do if you have maybe a certain thing that you're interested in, just something that you know about. Like maybe now if I started again, I'm very familiar with like the foster care world. So that would be a great
Wow.
niche.
Yeah.
Make shirts for maybe foster moms, and you know what they're looking for, what they like. So quickly I got those 10 sales from, I think it was within like my first week.
Oh
I
my
made
gosh. Wow.
sales that way just by directing people to that Amazon link that I had in my bio. So that really helped, and I didn't have to wait for, the organic traffic. And so what I like about Amazon is once you do make a sale on your shirts, a lot of times that will help them rank and they start selling better.
Yes.
So by bringing some of that direct traffic initially, then a lot of those shirts just started like selling organically on Amazon itself. But
Yes.
that's a way that people could definitely try if they want to tier up a lot faster.
Yeah, that's a great idea versus trying to test all the waters and have 10
Mhm.
different niches, right? Okay, so you're suggesting that it's easier to kind of fall into one niche so that you have the power of all of those working together for those keywords or whatever for Amazon to serve that and or maybe serve multiple. So that's a fantastic idea. So one question I have, you mentioned after 10 sales, does it go up to 25? I can't remember what it is.
Yep, it goes up to 25,
Okay.
and a lot of times Amazon will they usually do tier ups on like a monthly basis. And so if you've kind of hit that sale mark, then you would be tiered up. But sometimes, just without reason, they kind of put a pause on tiering people up.
Hmm.
So I think when I actually first made those 10 sales, Amazon didn't do a round of tier ups. And so I think I ended up waiting maybe 2 months to get into tier 25,
Wow.
but I already had some traction. So by the time I got to 25, I had made more than 25 sales. And so then the next month I went up to 100. So yeah, sometimes
Okay.
people get really discouraged. They're like, I made these sales. Why am I not tearing up? And for some reason, Amazon, especially around the busy holiday season, they just put a pause on tearing up, probably so they can manage things better.
Do you have to make a one sale on each of those 10 listings or you just have to have 10 sales? So it could be on one that's like outperforming the others.
Yep, you're exactly right. So you just have to make those 10 sales. So it's nice because 9 of your listings might not sell and just that one could sell
Sure.
10 times and then you still get to tier up. And that's something that I do find on Amazon about I sell probably less than 5% of all the designs that I ever post.
Oh, wow.
But those make up like 99% of my income is just those best sellers. Really, by having more products out there, you kind of find what is going to sell well. So yeah, definitely a lot of designs don't end up selling, but that's okay because your best selling ones will kind of carry everything else.
Okay, and so when we talk about the products on Amazon, is it pretty strictly shirts with access to a couple of other products or styles in the Amazon merch fulfillment thing? Or are you strictly kind of just doing shirts or basically what's kind of available for people if they, would want to branch out and have multiple products?
Yeah, so Amazon, they actually have quite a few products now. It seems like they very slowly add new products, but they are expanding that. So they have quite a few different like shirt, tank top
Okay.
options. They have several different sweatshirt, hoodie options. They have phone cases, pop sockets, tote bags. They have throw pillows now. So the nice thing about on Amazon is you can upload your one design and now you can put that design on, enable it on all the products
Mm.
and all the marketplaces that they have Amazon merch in.
But each one of those counts as a product, right? Or does each design count as because in the beginning you only have 10. So are you doing like 10 shirts, all different designs? Or are you doing two, one shirt, one book, one sticker, something like that? Like what is the advice there?
Yeah, so actually, this has been a more recent change that Amazon has made. So when I first got started, you had 10 slots. So if you wanted to use that on like 5 shirts and 5 sweatshirts, that was it. Now it's limited to 10 designs. So then you can upload that to all the products on all the marketplaces, which is super cool because
Oh,
that
wow.
it just really expands the products that you have. So I think it's like 64 different listings you end up having with each design. So if you're
Wow.
in tier 10, it's like 10 times 64
Okay.
actual listings that you have, which makes it way more
Wow.
easy to make sales, I think.
Yeah, okay, that's a lot different than
Mhm.
10 solo listings. It's 10 designs that then Amazon is putting on all these products or whatever products I guess makes sense. But you're saying that when you first got started, it was just 10 literal
Mhm.
items, right?
It was. I was super happy when they made that change because it just makes getting started even more accessible for new people, I think.
Do each one of those listings have complete customization on like description and title, or are you kind of at the mercy or the liberty of what Amazon decides to do with it? So like how much back end control do you have versus something like an Etsy where you have total control over what it what looks like?
Yeah, so on Amazon, for each design that you upload, you are creating kind of one generic description and title that's going to go on all of those different types of products. So something on Amazon that's a little bit different from Etsy is you can't put like the words shirt, you couldn't put like sweatshirt or pop socket in your listing because they just kind of want the keywords. And then Amazon, depending on which product, they are going to add those like shirt keyword or hoodie on the end of that for you.
Okay.
So yeah, it sometimes it's a little bit tricky, but usually you're creating one generic description that is with filled with the keywords in that niche, and then that's going to go on all the different types of products.
So then in your kind of general description, then you wouldn't want to say like, this is the best foster care shirt ever. You would
Mhm.
just want to talk about the niche or a product in general, right? Is that kind of the
Exactly.
advice?
Hmm.
Okay. Okay, yeah, and so then what's happening is it's replicating that in 64 places or however many products that you have. Let's say you get those 10 sales, which sounds very likely if you're crushing a niche with 300 something listings on for a product. When you get to that next tier, um, what are the strategies or advice that you go from there? Do you stay buckling down on one niche, or are you going to start expanding to something else? And if so, what are you doing to research and find what sells on a place like Amazon versus a place like Etsy? Because I feel like there may be some overlap. People are searching gifts on Etsy, but of course they're searching gifts on Amazon all the time.
Yeah, so definitely once you tier up to tier 25, I think you can start experimenting with expanding into some other niches. You have a little bit more wiggle room. I mean, you definitely could still do that same tier 10 strategy that I shared, but
Mm,
once you get into 25, 100, 500, I would say you definitely want to start expanding into a lot more niches. And the tool that I really have relied on for a long time, back as far as when I really got started on Amazon is Merch Informer. So they are kind of taking what are those best selling products on Amazon on t-shirts and then kind of sharing that data with you. And they also will show you like, okay, these are the shirts that have been uploaded, but that recently just started selling like crazy. So you can
mm,
find a lot of trends that way. And yeah, that's really how I will just spend like a lot of time every single day looking on what has been selling well and pinpointing niches or trends that I can go and make designs from. So that's a big way that you can find niches. I heavily recommend having some kind of research tool if you are selling on Amazon. It just makes things a lot easier than kind of just throwing stuff out there and then hoping that it's something that's in demand that people are looking for that maybe has a ton of competition or maybe people are just not searching for it. So you can waste a lot of time that way
yeah.
instead of just having a tool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, tools are like that are extremely powerful for the keyword research and just the niches alone. Being able to find that sub niche or an adjacent niche or something that maybe you can get in while nobody's really doing it yet. There's still search volume for it. If we talk a little bit about like the logistics side of Amazon and listings and things like that, I know with a platform like Etsy, you have a lot of ability in seeing, where traffic's coming from, statistics, how many eyeballs are on your listings, how many clicks are on that listing, if people have added it to cart, whatever. I don't have that same experience in Amazon. So, what are the tools that are available to you in Amazon? Can you see how many people are seeing it? Or are you kind of at the liberty of waiting for this monthly report that's like, hey, you got 2 sales? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that is something that's a little bit unfortunate about Amazon is they do kind of like to keep, I think, a lot of that like backend data more private. You don't always
Mm,
know what's going on with the Amazon algorithm. So I mean, you do see every single day, you see what sells like right after it sells. You can see what your bestseller rank on products is. So in terms of like of the clothing on Amazon, like what number is this in terms of their best sellers. And then if you do get more into Amazon advertising, that's where you can see a lot more information on the
Mm.
campaigns that you're running, where you'll get to see like how many people are viewing this, how many people are clicking on this listing. So that's a lot more helpful once you start diving into advertising. But yeah, that's something unfortunate that on Etsy, you definitely get a lot more information about how your listings are performing. And on Amazon, you don't really know a lot until you actually start making sales.
Okay, so yeah, so there's a little bit of you kind of have to do some extracurricular work in these other tools to kind of know off the bat if you're getting any, if you're getting any
Mhm.
traction. So with the ads then, is that something that you've experimented with? Have you pretty much kept everything organic? And if you've done ads, is there a time in which you suggest like, hey, maybe run ads on this if you think it's an absolute bestseller or something?
Yeah, so ads was something I was super scared about,
Mm.
even when I first got access to it. So you don't have access to ads typically immediately on Amazon.
Oh,
I
okay.
think to validate that you are an account that knows how to make sales. But even after I got it, I think it took me like a year before I even was like, you know what, I should really figure this out.
Mm.
But a strategy that has been working for me that I definitely suggest people get started with if they just really don't know what to do is you products that either have already made sales or new products that you upload that you just think are really great. You can put a really low click bid, so something like 10 cents, maybe up to 25 cents.
Oh,
And
wow.
then you're going to limit your ad spend to maybe like $1 a day on that listing, so it's really low risk. And then if you make sales from that, you haven't spent very much money. So that's just a very approachable way without having to like dig into all the analytics, everything that goes into ads. Just that's something anybody can do is just put a really low click spend and a really low per day ad spend.
Yeah, that's debatably even stronger, and has more variables than Etsy, unless I'm just wrong. Because I know you can set it per day, of course, and you can decide which listing it's on. But I think you
Mhm.
have to do $1, I think, or at least I've not seen how to do lower. Maybe you can, I don't know. But
Yeah, so
um,
you could do I mean, on Amazon, you could say, like, "I wanna spend a quarter," or something,
oh
but
wow, wow.
a dollar is, like, I found that that's, like, a good way to start, and then if it's performing well, then you can definitely ramp that up and be more competitive on those clicks if you are getting the impressions.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thought, a question I have is about the way basically the presentation of these products and things. Because something like Etsy, mockups are vital, right? It's
Mhm.
basically almost like YouTube thumbnails, right? To see how something's going to actually look or feel like or resemble. I understand that you do not have that ability on Amazon. You are limited to what the pre loaded mock-ups or something is or something. So, what's been your experience and or advice there? Or are you pretty much just like, well, I mean, your just design has to be good because they're just going to show it on these, print on demand stock looking photos.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So Amazon, you're just pretty much limited to, like, a mock-up of a plain t-shirt with no
Mm,
background or anything.
dang.
And so, I mean, obviously your design has to be really good, but there are a few things that I think about a lot more when I'm designing for Amazon as opposed to someplace like Etsy.
Oh, okay.
On Amazon, there's so many listings on the page, and I think that really big, bold designs is typically what is going to sell well. Now,
Hmm.
that's not even really my personal style. Like, if I was going to choose a t-shirt to wear, I definitely like kind of more of that like Etsy style where maybe there's like smaller designs on it. But on Amazon, if you can make a design that like takes up the entire space that you are given, that is so much better just because people can read it. So, yeah, bigger and bolder is better, stuff that you can actually really read if you're doing text designs.
That's excellent advice. We talk about filling the frame a lot
Mhm.
on Kittl specifically for t-shirt design. Making sure composition is right, but then getting really meta with it and saying like, no, are you actually filling the frame of that listing photo on the shirt as well? Now, so this brings up a good segue into maybe not just niches, but just the actual design itself, or the design style itself that sells well. And you've already mentioned big and bold. I don't know if you're a SpongeBob fan, but it just makes me think of bold and brash every time. Every time, when you're saying stuff like that, okay, big and bold, bold and brash sells really well on shirts or whatever. Are you seeing that's pretty much always the case? Like, I've also heard from other, not just collaborators, but just other successful Amazon POD sellers, that like text is like almost supreme, and like it's just like supreme, not the brand. Supreme is in like it reigns supreme in what sells. Are you seeing that that's what consistently converts, or is there a good mix of big text with little graphic, or 50% text, 50% graphic?
So I would say I definitely sell a good mix, but a
Okay.
lot of my best sellers are just like pure text designs, maybe
Wow.
in kind of like a block style font, which is
Wow.
crazy to me because I think I gravitate more to those like more complicated designs.
Graphic-y style.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
simple, it really does sell. So yeah, you don't
Hmm.
have to get super fancy with it, but I will say that a strategy that I've kind of implemented and I suggest a lot of people do is if you kind of find a niche that's selling well, a lot of those designs on Amazon are probably going to be a black shirt with white like block lettering just covering the full design. So if you can kind of try to do something different and a little bit better, so maybe you put the design on a different color shirt and then you're going to do text and graphics on it. So that way when people are scrolling down, like they stop because yours is so different than everything else there.
Mm.
So it's kind of a way to break into those more competitive niches and improve on what has been selling well that is just pure text designs.
Yeah, I think Gina has a good analysis video on that, looking at the top. Gosh, I think he did something crazy, like the top 100 shirts or something on Amazon for 1 month or whatever. And like 77 of them were black, I think. Right.
Yeah.
And then there was like one gray one in the top 15 or something like that. And they all followed like what he calls the sandwich format or whatever,
Mhm.
which is like text, a bar, maybe a graphic, text, right? It's like a sandwich, right? So that's such great advice, and it mirrors obviously what we know is successful, right? Because again, one of my favorite quotes, "Success leaves clues," right? Which I stole from Sean Cannell, but
That's so
uh,
good.
like I've said it in the last probably 10 or more Coffee with Kittles, because that's what each of you collaborators come on and basically say, yeah, no, let's just look at like what works. Like it's hard, but it's not that hard. You know what I mean? When you're saying, let's look at this listing that's a black shirt with text all the way down and say, let's do it a little bit different, you're not suggesting that like you go and you do just a completely different design that you think is going to like break minds and break the earth or something. You want to be adjacent enough that it fits in those top 10, top 15, right? So we need to make sure that it at least it's showing up to the game and it looks like it's a player in the game. You know what I mean? So maybe if we gave a specific example, what I believe is called mushroom core. I think cottage core is the overarching whatever, and then underneath that, like, or psychedelic, I think is up here. Then it's like
Mhm.
there's cottage core under that, and then there's like mushroom core or whatever. If we took that as a specific example, and we said, okay, out of these top 10 listings, here are the 10 mushroom core, cottage core sweater designs. What would you, as knowing your knowledge on Amazon POD right now, you're like, okay, I'm going to get into this and I'm going to crush this niche. And let's say all 10 across the board um, didn't have text, but they just had, nice compositions of the mushrooms. I think I can do something a little bit different, but it's going to be adjacent enough that it fits in these top 10. What would be your, like, I guess, first steps in that?
Yeah, so I mean, I would definitely look around kind of that like witchy cottagecore mushroom niche and
Hmm.
maybe see if there are any other like trending phrases or things,
Mm,
and maybe see if I can like pull more of like a text-based design and then incorporate like that mushroom aesthetic with it too. Or I find like a lot of times those types of designs maybe are just like a black design on a white t-shirt or a white design on a black t-shirt, and I would maybe see if I could like go on Kittl and find some graphics that have some more color, or I don't know,
sure.
something that I could do that would make that just like pop a little bit more and
Mm.
just be a little bit different than what's already out there.
So then I think the game then becomes not necessarily trying to break new ground or anything because we know that the niche is selling well. What we want to do is like stand out in the crowd. And one way that we have to do that is like not necessarily making our design louder, but just more apparent with these shirts that are either text based or with these shirts that I see that are just one nice graphic or one botanical flower or one whatever. You just have to look at that model that's already working, replicate that for whatever niche, right? So if it works on that niche, then you can do the same thing, find another kind of best-selling niche, I guess, and then replicate that process, that model, to do it in this for this other niche, right? So are there any last minute encouraging tips for people that are just getting started on Amazon? Not necessarily any like, there's no quick maps or quick paths to success, of course. There's no secret sauce other than just doing the research. I think that's the secret sauce.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a race to get started. Your first few months on Amazon, you don't have that many designs available to you, so you might not make like this crazy amount of money for maybe until you get into a little bit of those higher tiers.
Yeah,
So, but that's okay, but I mean, one thing that I tell a lot of people is definitely take advantage of being on more than one platform. So I love Amazon, but I never think that someone should just be an Amazon
sure.
seller. So not only does that protect you from like maybe Amazon, they decide to just get rid of your account one day, you maybe did something or not, and then all your
Yeah.
income is gone. So if you
Well,
can
yep.
diversify that, be on Etsy, you can be on Redbubble, Zazzle, TeePublic, there's all sorts of sites. But not only is that going to help you potentially just make more income, it's also going to help you become kind of a better designer, especially if you're on Amazon, because you are so limited to how many designs you can have. But I still think you should be making designs every single day and uploading those somewhere else, so that you are making sales on other platforms. And then when you do get tiered up to like tier 100, tier 500, you have
Wow.
designs to already fill those slots too. So it just makes the process a lot quicker.
Mm,
Um, yeah, and so I mean, like, if you're making $100 or $200 on one platform, that is not a lot of money, really. But if you can make 100, $200 on 5 or 6
on 5 or
platforms,
6,
that
yeah.
really, yeah, it really starts to add up. So definitely one of my biggest tips for new sellers, especially if they're discouraged about Amazon or they can't get accepted to Amazon, is just sign up for like 3 or 4 other sites and try your hand at those.
Yeah, absolutely. Such great advice. And of course, we have your YouTube channel, which I mentioned, and everyone definitely go check that out. Do you have anything upcoming that you want to mention for your YouTube channel, or any kind of courses or things like that that you offer that people should know about?
Yeah, so I definitely haven't released anything about it yet, but definitely my course is like in the works so that
Oh,
I'm
wow.
kind of at the tail end of hopefully releasing that maybe towards the end of the summer, early fall.
Wow.
But
Nice.
yeah, just lots of new videos on the YouTube channel. So I have lots of fun stuff coming up there. And you can always subscribe to my newsletter too. Every single week, I'm releasing like 5 trending niches and emerging like evergreen trends that I'm seeing. So that's a great resource for people. And I have things like downloadables and ebooks that I'll include. So I just try to deliver a lot of
Yeah.
value and not spam people. It's just once a week. So
Perfect. Yes. Okay. Well, everyone go check that out. And please also don't forget to subscribe to Kittl if you haven't already. At this point in the video, I'm assuming you have. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm assuming you've subscribed. But if you haven't, it's a red button right there. Go ahead and subscribe. And by the way, join the Discord. We have a print on demand specific channel in our Discord, which I'm going to be posting some of these recap tips from Hannah, and I also share all of the Coffee with Kittles maybe you missed in the POD channel in Discord. I think it will be helpful for you, those of you trying to grow in print on demand. So check that out, and keep using Kittl, keep trucking, get on POD, whatever it is. Go ahead and start. Don't wait until the end. Go ahead and start now. I hope you have the rest of the day. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.